Welcome to the Lastercast, very first video of 2023. This is Pete, your host with the most. Right over there is my co-host, Dr. Zayas God, Danny Torkel, and we are here to talk about the trailer for Evil Dead Rise, which just dropped. There's two of these freaking things today.
Rise.
And down there, bringing the comedy is Mr. Mike Bongiorno from Pop Culture Man Children. Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here. Dead by Dawn.
There you go. And right next to him, Brady Bunch style, is my brother from another mother, Mr. Brian Corsair. Brian, welcome.
Join us.
Oh, man, you guys are just dropping the quotes. This is hot. Yes, so good thing we got that one viewer that I didn't alienate so far, and we can get this party started. We also might get joined by Derek Stockton, who's a filmmaker from Tennessee, and he's been on the show before. We'll see. But guys, I was thinking I want to get your Evil Dead background, and we'll do a little round table. You ready? So, out of the 4 existing Evil Dead movies, which one is your favorite? Danny, why don't you lead us off?
Evil Dead 2 is one of my all-time favorite movies. I think The Evil Dead is the greatest franchise in horror history. It's my number one because it's 4 perfect movies that are completely different than the last one. And that includes the 2013 remake, which I kind of feel like, based on the reaction to the trailers today, a lot of people seem to have forgotten how freaking great that movie is.
Right.
And I love all of them. When I was in college, I had all 3 Evil Dead movie posters on my wall. I'm drinking out of an Evil Dead mug. I'm wearing an Evil Dead shirt. I'm ready to rock and roll. I fucking love this series.
Nice.
Oh, and that I also didn't mention, of course, Ash vs. Evil Dead, which was perfect. And my best friend in the world, Dana DiLorenzo, who was on that show. She's not my best friend in the world, but I'm very friendly with her, and met her at a bunch of horror conventions. She is definitely, I consider her a friend. And I got to interview her, Bruce Campbell, and Ray Santiago a bunch of times for Geeks of Doom when I was writing for Geeks of Doom.
Nice.
And covering that show weekly. And that was like the highlight of my pre-Lacercast work in covering horror semi-professionally.
Nice. Man, so it goes pretty deep for you, man.
Yeah, I like Brian said, join us. Like, I watched The Evil Dead when I was a kid, and it screwed me up. My dad wouldn't, of all the movies, my dad had a thing for Raimi. He would not let me watch Raimi movies like Evil Dead 2, and Darkman were on the very short banned list. Everything else I could watch. The Exorcist didn't matter, but yeah. So when I finally got to watch them, they were special right off the bat for me.
Okay. Well, Mike, what about you? Which Evil Dead movie is the closest to your heart?
Oh, geez. Well, I probably have to agree with Danny that the best one in the series is 2. 2 is it's running on all cylinders. It has all of the technique and scares of part 1, but has the comedy element and the heroic element of Ash. Although I have to say, 1 is almost there for me. 1 has its charms in how just brutal it is, and how you watch and you think these are just college kids. How did they do this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring the room down by saying I don't like the remake.
Oh.
But I do like Ash versus Evil Dead. I do like a lot of the video games. I've seen the play. There was a musical that they ran in New York. I saw it 3 times when it ran in New York.
Damn.
So I love this franchise.
Okay, Jesus. Brian, you have seen the musical as well, right?
Yes, I've seen it a number of times. I saw the original run, I want to say twice, and I go almost every year because they put it up every Halloween. I took my son to it last year.
Oh, wow.
6. Maybe that's a parenting decision, but he did enjoy it. The only thing he was afraid of was getting blood splattered on him.
Right.
And he that didn't really happen for him. So everything was good there. We didn't go this year, but I'm hoping I can go back again next year. That honestly might be my favorite aspect of Evil Dead, is that live experience of that musical because it's fantastic.
Awesome. Okay. So just joining us right now is Derek Stockton, and he's a filmmaker. I've seen a bunch of his short films. He's fantastic, and I want to get his view on this trailer. But Derek, before we even get there, I just want to know which Evil Dead film is your favorite?
Evil Dead 2 is going to be my favorite. Yeah, it's like everybody said. It's like a mix between the third and the first original, and it's just got the perfect balance of everything. So it's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to join Derek there and say that Evil Dead 2 is my favorite. It's definitely the one that I've rewatched the most. What's interesting about the 2013 movie and this trailer is that they seem like they are very removed from the feeling of Evil Dead 2. And so I was thinking we could talk about that and compare all the movies after we watch this trailer. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Cool. All right, you guys ready to become like regular YouTubers over here and have a trailer reaction?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so feel free to say shit over this.
So thematically, we've got a mother in her kitchen. It's domestic. She's breaking eggs, which is like eggs could become life, and she's gonna kill her kids. I'm sorry.
This is the
That's
Red
good.
Band trailer, right?
This,
Yeah. This is what I consider the
This
Red
is
Band.
the first one that came out this morning.
Yeah, so this is the Red Band one.
yeah. And so you guys were saying that you prefer the second trailer to this one, right?
I was saying that, yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I didn't even know there was a green trailer until right before we came on. And I watched it and I was like, so like, yeah, like that scalp on the dock is not obviously in the other trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna pause it too and talk over it a little bit because I think that if I just played straight, we might get like copyright stricken. But so you're saying that this one is the Red Band one and the other one that's longer is
I
the
thought
green
they were
one.
both Red Band. I
They're
thought they
both
were
Red Band.
two different trailers. I might be wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, on the Evil Dead Twitter page, there was like a vote, and most people voted for the Red Band, so I assume they released that first. So I think there is a difference because it was Red Band or Green Band. If I had to pick, I would say this is probably the Red Band because it's a little bit gorier.
Yeah.
This is definitely the trailer I watched this morning because I just watched the other one and you don't see the scalp land on the dock.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all right, so here we go.
There's more narrative in it though. It's a little bit more plotty.
Yeah, the second one, yeah. So we got the Necronomicon and there's recording. This trailer right off the bat reminds me of the 2013 Evil Dead a lot. What about you
So
guys?
I mentioned to Chris because Chris posted this on social media, and I said I really like this trailer, and I'm gonna be like first in line to see it in the theater. But there is a sense of kind of been there, done that to this trailer, with like, oh, there's the Necronomicon. Oh, they're playing a recording, and you hear, Kandar. Like I've heard that since 1981. So there's this, and then there's there is the and then of course you get the girl with the chainsaw. There is this sense. It kind of feels like they were like, how can we make the Evil Dead a little different? Let's put kids in jeopardy, and that's kind of like the hook of these two trailers. Is we're gonna make the Evil Dead, but we're going to put kids in jeopardy this time. And that's going to up the tension. And we're going to do because the gore in the 2013, is legit gore. And if this one is going to be on that level, I mean, then again, it's kind of like been there, done that. I'm okay with that. But that was my only critique of the trailer was I kind of feel like I've seen some of this stuff before.
Yeah.
I think that's a necessary thing, though. I mean, this is another movie in a franchise. May not be directly connected to any of them, or maybe we don't know yet. But I think you need to see some of those things there. Although I think in this trailer, you do see a lot of hallmarks, like Danny mentioned. You see the Necronomicon, you see the record player, you see a huge amount of blood shooting out of something. But this trailer lacked my favorite aspect of the Evil Dead, which is that shaky POV cam.
Oh, yeah.
The trailer does have, and to me, that's like the most Evil Dead thing. So,
right.
And that was one of the reasons I preferred the Green Band to this one.
Oh, yeah.
I think here with the eye thing gives me like flashbacks to the video game Dead Space 2. Spoiler alert. So that like triggered me, and actually this did too. The cheese That also triggered me too. My wife cut her hand with a mandolin once, and it kind of reminds me of that. And,
Oh man.
I grew up watching ECW, so I'm okay with cheese graters being used for violence.
Okay, now this right here, this is one of the most disturbing things. I think this is the most disturbing thing in these trailers. It's like someone's eating glass, right? And the glass is coming through their throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how bonkers it is. I think visually it looks a lot like the remake. It's got that more contemporary color timing, but I feel like the remake. I feel like I see more humor in this. And when I say humor, I don't mean like jokes. I mean in a sort of in a mannered way, like the way that the Deadites that we see in this trailer behave seem really bonkers. And to me, that is more that struck me as being very real Evil Dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at this right here. There's your chainsaw right there. And it's weird too, because like it's so much like that 2013 movie because the main character is a woman as well, right? It's what's the main character's name in that one again?
Yeah.
Mia, right. Okay. Yeah, and then this little girl too.
That movie also
Love
like
that shot.
it set you up to think that one of the guys was going to be the Ash character.
Yeah.
And it flipped the script by having the girl who's possessed at the beginning actually come back to be the final girl, which I don't think anybody expected when the movie started. Like you just thought, oh, she's in the basement now, so she's going to be, you know, the Cheryl of this movie, and then
Right.
she ends up being the final girl at the end, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, although you could say there's a precedent that, you know, Ash gets possessed in every movie too.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing, Derek, you we didn't discuss the remake with you yet. Are you a fan of the 2013 Evil Dead remake?
Yeah, I think it's really brutal and it's a good film. I really enjoy the gore and everything in it for sure. I think like somebody said there, I think the Deadites being a little jokey and a little bit more like that type of black dark humor comes across in this trailer right here, especially with the any mini miny mo bit and whenever she's knocking on the door, one in and talking to the little girl. So yeah, it's uh, I feel like the remake was a little more dark. It didn't have hardly. I don't think it had hardly any humor, so it was very dark. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and like this sequence right here, I paused it here because to me, I feel like this has got to be like a cold open sequence right here, right? Where there's different characters. It's not in the city like the rest of the movie, and they're like in some sort of sunlit place. I think we've already gone past the building that looks like a triangle. Did anyone else there it is. Did anyone else get Mandy vibes from that building that was in the woods?
Yes, I was getting Midsummer vibes.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah. So do you think that these are totally unrelated characters and that this is going to be essentially a cold open for this movie, this sequence right here, where the girl's coming out of the water?
I think maybe the mom goes camping or whatever,
Yeah.
and gets possessed and brings it home into the apartment building.
Okay. Okay.
And that's another reason why I really like the second trailer that I watched, which I think is the Green Band trailer, because
that shining shot.
Yeah.
you don't really get a sense of this movie taking place in an apartment building from this trailer.
Yeah.
Like you get that like cabin in the woods vibe from those few scenes, and yeah, it's taking place in a home, but the other trailer like shows the apartment complex. It shows people like in a city, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be really different. Evil Dead in the city is like a different take on. It's like, I mean, it invented the cabin in the woods genre, so to take that and put it in the city in like a skyrise building is a cool thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, Derek, as someone that actually like lives in the country and stuff, how do you feel about Evil Dead being set in an urban setting?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of a movie called Demons 2. So like I like the aspect of the high rise thing for sure. I had thought this movie may be inspired by that, but apparently the director had never seen it, so he had responded to one of my tweets, and I was kind of upset about that a little bit. But at the same time, it's this. I feel like the cabin in the woods thing is good. It looks like they intertwine that some here with that little cabin we see in the trailer, but I think the high rise thing could be fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, I know Danny mentioned this before that he saw Ash versus Evil Dead. He watched the whole show and he talked about it on our channel too. Um, have any of you guys watched that show that was on Stars?
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
didn't see the last season because I think I don't know what happened. I lost stars or something, but I watched most of it.
Oh, okay. So, like, and we can kind of get out of this trailer now over here and just start talking again.
I mean, we
Um,
just that one line at the end of the trailer is freaking great, though.
oh
The,
yeah, yeah. Your mother's with the maggots or whatever.
your mother's with the maggots now is an all-time freaking trailer line.
Yeah.
I actually got scared for some reason. I thought of Rogue One and I was like, this feels like such a good trailer line. I hope it's not just something that was done for the trailer that is actually edited out of the movie. Like, and by that I mean like Rogue One, where it's like, I'm a rebel, we rebel. That line wasn't in the movie,
Yeah.
and neither was half the stuff you saw in that trailer. So that was my only concern. I know it's a weird parallel to make, but I thought that line was so good,
Yeah.
and I was like, that line better be in the final cut of this movie.
Well, you
And
know,
Star
it's
Wars came up. Let's take a shot.
there you go, right? Yes, on one of our shows. Yeah, but like, here's the deal. The behind the scenes of this is very interesting, right? Because we've been talking about the Evil Dead remake in 2013, and they were going to make a sequel to Army of Darkness, a fourth Evil Dead movie. And I saw that on a con panel. What's his face? Bruce Campbell was saying that they were essentially going to make a sequel to the 2013 movie. They were going to make a sequel to Army of Darkness, and then there was going to be another movie that was gonna tie them together. Mia's story and Ash's story. Have you guys heard something similar to that?
Hmm.
Yeah, I heard that before, but didn't it all get derailed by like COVID essentially?
I think even before COVID, it got derailed, and then they made that Ash versus Evil Dead show, and that was kind of like the end of Ash's story. And I think that Bruce Campbell's even said that he's retired from playing that character.
Yeah,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
there comes a point where you can't just get 40 gallons of blood thrown on you anymore when you're close to collecting AARP.
I think he's past that point. And like we had some of that humor in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness too, right? Where he's beating himself up.
Yes.
Yeah.
The pizza papa.
Pizza Popper, yeah. So let me ask you guys this: like, give me your thoughts. Let's just go around in a circle right now, and you tell me like, what are the high points of this trailer? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think this is going to take it in a new direction? Danny, you go.
I really liked the trailer. I did feel it was a little been there, done that, but I think Brian kind of swayed me with the whole, you have to sell this movie to new audiences. You got to kind of remind them of the tropes of Evil Dead. I did like the green trailer better just because it establishes the city setting better. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be gory. Deadites look like they're scary as fuck. And like your mother's with the maggots now is just, it's a great freaking line. I'm going to be there day one.
Yeah, he's going to get a Cavity Colors shirt that has that line on it.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Brian, what about you?
You know, it's funny. I was meant to say this in the beginning, but when I have a extensive T-shirt collection of weird matchup things, and there are three things I always look for when I find a new T-shirt site. It's Transformers, X-Men, and then Evil Dead. So I'll probably buy that same shirt with along with Danny there. I also agree that I like the Green Band trailer a little better. I think it gave a little bit better sense of the plot and the timeline of the movie. I really liked there was the one shot. I felt it was kind of very much Insidious, where you see the mom crawl out of the corner of the screen behind the main character. I really like that it seems to be a singular Deadite as an antagonist. Maybe someone else gets possessed. I think we do see one of the younger kids get possessed at some point in the trailer there. But I like the idea of potentially just having a single antagonist rather than everybody getting possessed. And I actually really liked the line that was in both trailers where the little girl says, you'd be a great mom because you're good at lying to kids. I like that hit me so hard.
Yeah, I got kind of fucked up because there's one shot where the little girl, like the smallest kid, looked like Clementine, my daughter, and I was like, oh fuck, I hate when that happens in movies. They always have these little blonde girls, you know. Derek, as a father of a little blonde girl, did that bother you too?
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see how I react to the bringing in the children to kind of interact with the Deadites. Of course, the trailer I thought was really good, seemed really brutal. I'll be there on day one to watch it, of course. I like the Green Band trailer the best as well because it does establish Lamore. Honestly, when I watched the first trailer, I was sort of like all over the place. I was just like, what's going on? But I thought it looked good. I do have faith in the director, Lee Cronin. I'm a pretty big fan of his other work, including some of his short films. So I have faith that he's going to bring the goods.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I want to put a pin in that. Once we get Mike's response, I want to know more about Lee Cronin because I know nothing about him. So you can kind of fill us in. Mike, what about you?
I'd say the highlight of the trailer we looked at just now was the scene where the mother is outside in the apartment hallway, and the little girl's talking to her through the peephole, because I always loved in the original series when the Deadite would sort of downshift back into a person, and Ash would always fucking fall for it.
Right.
And I gotta say, I like the idea of it being about a family, like not necessarily the idea of children in peril, but the idea of the matriarch of this family is a Deadite, and how do aunts and children all deal with that? Although I agree with Danny, which was from following this for the last couple months, I feel like the gimmick that I was told was this is Evil Dead in an apartment building, and then that isn't really what this trailer is.
Hmm. Yeah, it does, like just what Danny has said a bunch of times. It's like kind of feels like the same old, like it's the same story over again. Um, yeah, you
just
would think
want
that
to
we.
just piggyback off what
Yeah.
Mike said. Somebody on Twitter today posted that they got Conjuring vibes from this, and I think that like the aspect of it's like a family in peril with a possessed mother and children involved.
Yeah.
You brought up Insidious, and that's James Wan also, and it's like you could totally see some of that James Wan kind of like haunted, possessed mother attacking the family vibe. I could totally see that as a comparison. Like if The Conjuring was a gory Evil Dead movie, of course, yeah.
Right. And it's weird because I'm actually in my mom's apartment. We're not in a high story, we're in a second floor apartment in
Me
Cedar
too.
Park. And I come over here to record, but anyway, I showed her the trailer because she's into horror. We're actually watching Deadstream right before I started doing this too. And she saw that one shot and she was like, "Oh, that's just like Hereditary too." So she's referencing Hereditary. You guys are referencing The Conjuring.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's a bunch of movies where like the mother is possessed or like the mother is evil. What I was going to ask you guys is, do you think that this is like a new trend with like setting established franchises in urban settings? Like, because isn't Scream 6 going to be in New York City too?
Scream takes Manhattan.
Right. So, like, why do you think they would make that change for these franchises, these established franchises?
So something different. I mean, how many franchises have made that kind of leap from, the woods to the city, other than Jason Takes Manhattan?
Yeah.
I mean, there was this trend in the night where everything went to space. Maybe Manhattan's the cool. This is LA
I almost jokingly tweeted that, like, what's next? Is it going to be Evil Dead in space? And I was like, I'm not going to tweet that. I don't want to give anybody any ideas. But yeah, I think Brian's right. Like sometimes I think the biggest problem that I had with Scream 5, the one that came out this year, was it relied so heavily on the first movie, like the legacy sequel. And I know that that's what it was. The whole point of it was, but it like to the point where the ending takes place in Stu's house from the first movie.
Right.
And like, so when you see the characters from Scream 5 on a subway in New York City on Halloween, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is different.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there's good different, like, Scream in Manhattan and Evil Dead Rise in an apartment building. And then there's, Leprechaun in space and movies like that. So
Right. Jason X. Yeah. I wonder, like, I always wonder about the behind the scenes. Like, is it because maybe like when you're in a city setting, like in post COVID, because all this shit is now post COVID, right? And I feel like living in a city with COVID, it's scary to interact with other people, right? And Evil Dead has this whole infected vibe to it. And I wonder if like that was something that was going on in Lee Cronin's head, was thinking about like someone infected in an apartment building, you know? And I don't know. I mean, maybe there might also be a simple thing of like it's easier to film in certain cities now because of COVID, and like they give discounts in filming in areas. I think this movie, as far as I read, was actually filmed in New Zealand. Did you guys see that too? Oh,
Yeah.
you saw that,
That
Derek?
does make sense. Yeah, Ash vs. Evil Dead was mostly filmed there.
Yeah.
Rob Talbert, who
Right.
was the original executive producer, he is married to Xena. He's married to Lucy Lawless, who was in Ash vs. Evil Dead, and so a lot of this was set. A lot of Ash vs. Evil Dead was set in New Zealand, and I mean, Bruce Campbell filmed so much of his stuff in New Zealand. I think like Xena, Hercules, all those shows were filmed there.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask Derek too. You mentioned before Lee Cronin. I know that he was handpicked by Sam Raimi to direct this movie. You said that you saw some of his shorts. What about his style do you think drew Sam Raimi to him?
As far as his style, I mean, a movie that you guys may or may not have seen is A Hole in the Ground. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I mean, it's just probably as far as the shorts, there's a short called Through the Night that he directed, but it's been 12 years ago, so it's an older short. But as far as what Sam Raimi may have seen in him, I'm not really sure. But I know that he's basically did several short films, and he did The Hole in the Ground, and then he got the Evil Dead gig. So that would be nice.
Yeah. It seems like the short directors are nabbing these, bigger things. Like I was thinking about those two guys that we just talked about their movie, right, Danny? Fucking Something in the Dirt. Those two guys.
Yeah. Benson
and Moorhead. Yeah. They're guys that make kind of smaller things, and they've gone on to bigger things too. And that I was getting
this has been like a trend in horror now for a while, where you find a director who used a very small budget to make a pretty good indie horror movie, and then you elevate them to a franchise piece. This was done with, I believe his name is David Sanford. He did Lights Out. He did the Lights Out short, then he did Lights Out, and then he was given Annabelle Creation, I think, which was really good.
Right. He did Shazam. If I want to do a little shout out to our other channel.
Oh yeah,
Books Transformed.
Yeah. But this is something that's kind of like been going on, where that's really like Mike Flanagan. Even Mike Flanagan, his like breakthrough movie for a lot of people was Ouija: Origin of Evil. And I remember when that trailer came out, my thoughts were, oh my God, they're making a prequel to freaking Ouija. Who the hell would see that? Yeah. And it was, this little known horror director who had directed the Oculus short and did Oculus for, I believe, WWE Studios. And then, Ouija kind of hit big. And then all of a sudden he's the Netflix man and Stephen King's muse and all these wonderful things.
Yeah, I mean, it looks awesome, this movie. Like, it looks like someone that has a lot of experience under their belt. As we kind of wrap this up, I wanted to go around and ask you guys. Let's start with Mike this time. Is there anything that you feel like could make you dislike this movie or not be interested in seeing potential sequels? Because I'm thinking that they're going to probably try to make a trilogy if this becomes successful.
Well, I guess going back to what I said about the remake, I feel like there needs to be humor in the mix. It doesn't have to be straight up, slapstick, but I think part of the essential recipe for a good Evil Dead film is some absurdity, some real like bananas stuff. So if they try to be too serious or move too far away from, what makes Deadites cooler than regular zombies, right? What you take the humor out of Deadites and they're zombies, and we've seen that, right?
Right.
That would make me dislike it.
Okay. Derek, I was going to ask you, going along with what Mike was saying, like based on what you've seen of Lee Cronin's work, do you think that he'll show that drill going into that kid's eye, and will he show someone getting their leg all grated up with a cheese grater?
Yeah, I think that he will. Yeah, I think that he will. I think it's going to be pretty brutal. As far as anything, I don't think I may not like is going to be the children aspect. Like I want to see how far he takes that part of it. Because anytime there's a scene that comes to mind, I think it's the movie called it's got I can't. It's the movie with Egg, I can't remember his name. I'm going blank here. But
Joel
anyway,
Edgerton?
yeah, Joe Egerton. Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Are you talking about It Comes at Night?
Yeah,
That movie?
there's a scene there. It's where they're carrying that baby up the hill and they get shot at. Stuff like that. Just scenes like that kind of get to me a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that it could definitely be a fun movie though. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I do wonder who's going to live in this movie and who's going to be like that character that's like the Mia in the remake and the Ash in the original trilogy. And you guys can also chime in and say who you think might be their potential franchise character.
I think
But
it might be an alien. I think it might be an Aliens situation where you've got the ants as kind of a Ripley
yeah,
and the little girl. I think at the end they'll be the two,
okay. And everyone else is fair game.
and then she'll die before the beginning of the next movie.
Yeah.
Oh
when
no!
when
Yeah.
they land on a penal colony.
Right, it's
Ooh,
Evil
she's
Dead in
dead.
space. Yeah, Brian, what's the turnoffs for you for Deadites and Evil Dead?
I'm kind of an Evil Dead stan, so I mean it's gonna work real hard for me to not like it. Typically, there are two things I don't like. When they do horrible things to children, and then the thing I have even less tolerance for than that is when they do things to dogs.
Oh.
But even still, I'll probably still go with the next one if they make it. I really can't think of anything that would be that bad, unless the movie just plain sucks.
Yeah.
That would turn me off from any potential sequels.
Yeah. I think it looks promising. What about you, Dr. Zayas?
There's only two things they could do to turn me off to this franchise. If it turns out that the Deadites are really just Corey Cunningham, that's a Halloween Ends reference. That was a Halloween
okay.
Ends.
Oh, gotcha.
And if the town gets invaded by a bunch of hipsters and then they bring back Bruce Campbell only for him to be chainsawed through the chest and thrown in the garbage.
Yeah.
That was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 reference. They can't fuck this up for me. They fucked up other franchises that I loved. They can't fuck up this one.
Is that what happens in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie? They kill the girl
Sally
from the first
Hardesty
one?
comes back. She's on screen for 5 minutes. She gets chainsawed through the chest and literally thrown in the garbage.
Oh my god! But that's a different actress too, right? Because the original actress died. Okay.
Marilyn Burns passed away. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, do any of you guys have anything else you want to add to our Evil Dead discussion? No? All right, let's do the fun part where we all plug our shit. I know, Derek, you actually have a podcast now too, right?
Yeah. It's called 6 to Midnight. I've only got about 10 episodes into it right now, but yeah. And then of course my films. You could just look me up at Derek Stockton Films on Facebook, and most of my stuff right now is on Vimeo, other than the feature film that I did, and it's actually on Vudu and Tubi.
Oh, nice, man.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Bringing some prestige to this channel. So, but what's the deal with 6 to Midnight, though? What's up with your show?
It's really just a way for me to kind of vent some creative juices as far as talking about some films that I grew up on, like VHS era stuff, like Demons 1 and 2, original Dawn of the Dead. We just kind of talk about old films that people may not watch a lot these days, and it's just kind of having fun with it.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Sounds kind of similar to our channel. I'd love to, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
Mr. Bongiorno down there, I've been on your show a couple of times. Can you tell everyone about it?
Pop Culture Man Children. is my podcast. It's available anywhere pods are found. If you like Evil Dead, in the next 2 weeks, we're doing an episode on, I always get the name wrong, Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell, which some people call the Japanese Evil Dead.
I just watched that on Shudder, and it is
Great.
wonderful.
It's bonkers.
Wonderful.
It's bonkers. And and then Pete, you're coming on. We're gonna talk about some Ninja Turtles soon, I think.
Brian, The Last Ronin. That's what me and him are talking about.
Love Last Ronin.
Yes.
My son loves The Last Ronin. He became obsessed with Ninja Turtles after I told him there was a comic where they all die.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's fantastic. So, Mike's show is fantastic. I'm going to be on there soon. I have a show with Brian over there. Brian, I don't think I've ever made you plug our channel before. You want to do it?
You're going to make me do it? Okay.
Do it. Plug it.
I'm on a channel with Pete, who does most of the talking, and I just throw some random anecdotes in there called Comic Books Transformed. We just talk about stuff that had roots in comic books that are now TV shows or movies. Right now, we're covering Doom Patrol and Willow, and I seem to be the only person in existence who actually sort of likes Willow. So I'll say that. Take me now for all you want, and that's kind of it.
Yeah,
we're middle-aged men, getting closer to death, holding on to our childhoods.
Yeah,
clinging on to our VHS.
That's what it's all about, man. It's funny. I can't really see the transition from the Evil Dead crew to people that like Willow, the new Willow show. I don't think there's on that Venn diagram. There's not a lot of people that fit in there.
I am the only crossover in that regard. I guarantee that there is not a single person.
The middle of the Venn diagram is just a picture of Brian, like
yeah, just looking around like John Travolta. All right, Danny, plug this shit. What we got on the last cast?
So this is our first video of the year. As soon as this video is over, you and I are going to record a review of Lake Mungo, which just came up on Shudder. One of Mike Flanagan's favorite horror movies. And then we are going to be getting into The Mayfair Witches, which is the second part of the Anne Rice Immortal Universe over on AMC. And if you want to check out the first part of that, Pete and I covered Interview with a Vampire, one of our favorite shows of 2022. And then we're going to be spacing out some more horror reviews through the month. I know that Shudder is adding the insane 1980 film Possession, and I think we're going to be talking about that later on in the month. Basically Lake Mungo coming up, and then the Mayfair Witches once a week throughout the month.
Sweet. All right, so that is the last cast. Make sure that you guys are subscribing to see some more of me and Danny. Check out everyone else's shows too, because these guys are a lot of fun. I'd love to have each one of you back on the last cast sometime soon. Maybe when this movie comes out, we'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll see you guys real soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right.